Well, good evening everyone, and welcome to North America for round 7 here in Montreal, Canada. Following the typical crash bang wallop style of Monaco, we move straight into another potential action-filled event here at the ever-popular Gilles Villeneuve circuit. Long straights, tight walls and differing tyre strategies make this race typically fun for all the drivers involved. Overtaking is possible, as is the chances to crash, so don't be surprised to see some unlikely high-placed finishers. It can be a tricky track to nail the perfect lap, and also sees a difference in setups. Do the drivers go for downforce to help them round the low traction areas, or is it all about maxing your engine down the straights? Only time will tell as who got it right. So the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, located on the man-made Notre Dame Island, sees the drivers tackle 14 challenging corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right. 3 DRS zones provide the drivers with plenty of opportunities to overtake, with the first and final turns providing some great action over the years. A very short pit lane will see drivers opting for different strategies as they scramble for track position. And will we see anyone end their race in the infamous Wall of Champions? Good evening everyone, and welcome to One Hub Racing's Prestige Tier, as we're here at round 7 in Canada, just watching Super Guy then come across the line to start his first flying lap on those soft tyres. The league, of course, sponsored by Next Level Racing. So do check them out if you want any sort of rigs set up, anything like that, for all those sim races out there. Things from seats, pedals, steering wheels, that all sort of thing as well. Some really nice quality gear on there, so do be sure to check them out. Right, we've got 14 drivers then, 15 and a half minutes left of this qualifying session already. There are a few drivers missing. Lewis is not here tonight. His accelerator keeps getting stuck open, to be honest, but if he was to yeet it into the wall at the end of lap 3 because of it, it would make no difference. He usually does it anyway. And we've also got Marquez's. He's missing. He's broken his controller. We've got Samstad, unfortunately. He's otherwise occupied tonight, and I think his teammate Matt is not here tonight as well. He's gravely ill, unfortunately, and there's a couple of others missing as well. So it's slightly low on the numbers tonight, but I'm hoping and praying all 14 of his guys keep it relatively clean in the first couple of laps so we can get some good racing under our belts. So Super Guardian coming down with the DRS open to complete hopefully his first flying lap. You can see there on the left a mix of tyre strategies at the moment, softs, mediums and hards, and Super Guy's not happy about his lap and he's coming straight back into the pit, so we'll try and find someone else. There was Williams that was ahead of him. It was VSR Onyx then, who has taken provisional pole early in the session, a 107.886. Good evening to everyone that's slowly filtering into the stream. I know the Pinnacle Tier is still going on at the moment. I'm sure once it ends as ever, then all those guys will be making their way over to this stream as well. So good evening to all of you in here so far. Hope you're gearing up for a nice weekend ahead of yourselves. So Chapelele then into P2 at the moment, or 109.638 on the medium, slightly off the pace on those tyres. We've got other drivers out there. ILRT Louis, our championship leader, and we'll touch on both the drivers and constructors championships in a minute or two. We've got Midnight out there on the soft tyres as well. Going down to the final chicane with the Wall of Champions on the right hand side. Number 13, unlucky for some, might be lucky for the Racing Point driver. He comes across the line, stays to the right hand side for the shortest run to the line, and he does take provisional pole by just 0.04 of a second with a 107.848. So then we will talk about the standings. ILRT Louis, with 2 wins and 4 podiums this season, has a nice healthy 101 points to his name, so the first driver over the 100 point barrier, and he leads the championship 32 points ahead of Marquez's, who's not here tonight, so he's in second on 69. In third place is Paris in the Williams on 63. His teammate Onyx in fourth on 60, and then Blizzard in fifth place on 57. Brettster, of course, as I keep saying, had a -5 point penalty at the beginning of the season. He's still sitting there on -4, so he's definitely propping up that championship table. Into the constructors, Aston Martin Red Bull lead the way on 126, just 3 points ahead of the Williams team on 123. McLaren in third, 101, and then it's Mercedes on 78, Ferrari in fifth on 74. 2 teams still remain on 1 single point, both Toro Rosso and the Haas team, and they are slowly starting to fall away, but they have an opportunity tonight. If how many have we got? We've got both the Haas drivers here, and we've got looks like neither of the Toro Rosso drivers, unfortunately. So the Haas drivers, if they can keep it out of the walls, pick up some good points, they might be able to close up to Renault, who have got neither driver here tonight. They're in 8th place on 18 points. The 3 teams at the bottom really do need some points early on. Nikito comes across the line on 109.7, but I assume he's only invalidated it. He's on the hard tyres. You've got Onyx in second place coming back out of the pits as well. We've got Elon Nick down at the bottom in 14th. He's just coming out the hairpin at the moment. He's on a flying lap. So we'll try and find someone that's about to start. Well, and Paris then, so we'll jump on board of Paris. Takes us for a lap around the Jules Villeneuve circuit. Turn 1 and turn 2. The exit to the pit lane there on the left-hand side as well. Fight the traction as you come out of turn 2, and then curving to the right-hand side through the right-left of 3 and 4. Again, very tricky through here. Keep away from the exit wall as well. You don't damage your car there. Little kink of left of 5 and the long 6 here. Straighten up the car. Heavy braking into turn 7. The car again will understeer and now oversteer through turn 8 as well. Over the DRS line for the first of 3 DRS attempts on this lap. Over to the right-hand side of it. Over to the left as well. Braking a straight line. Very tricky entrance here through the right-left as well. So over to the left-hand side then. Again, straighten up the car. Coming across the sector time as well. Into the hairpin. Down into first gear. Short shifts up to second. And then up to third as well to kill the wheel spin. Straighten up the car. Up to the second go with the DRS as well. Green flags being indicated to someone's either had it off or going slowly. And now down this very, very long back straight into the final chicane. Turns 13 and 14. Absolutely attack the curbs going through there. Open up the DRS again. Stay over to the right hand side. But Paris is moving into the middle of the circuit. He crosses the line and for his first time lap. Needed 2 tenths off his teammate. But it's good enough on them soft tyres to put himself into P3 for 108.010. So the lap times are slowly starting to trickle their way in. 10.5 minutes left of the session. Matt out there at the moment on the hard tyres. He's already set a lap on those, but it hasn't been counted. So he's going again. Louis then back out on circuit as well. This is his second attempt on a set of soft tyres. Mark SP is somewhere in sector 1, coming into sector 2 now. Super Guy and LR Yogurt both on out laps, and Bretster coming out the final chicane then. He's on the medium tyres. This is a quick lap. Let's see where it places him. 7th place at the moment, just a 10th off of his own teammate. And Bretster decides to straight line turn 2. So the Haas drivers in P6 and P7 at the moment. Not much difference between them, but Bretster did set that lap time on the medium, so not a bad lap to be honest. As we come back down, let's have a look. Chapalele, is he coming into the pits or is he going for a fast one? No, he's coming into the pits. We've got Lakita in the pits. LR Yogurt is coming round to start his flying lap. Where's Louis in all this then? So we'll jump on board with the McLaren driver. Let's see what he can do. Hopefully he can do his first time lap. LR Yogurt just coming on stream there saying, I don't have my setup. So whether or not he's got a setup, failed to put it on the car or didn't save it, I'm not too sure. But LR Yogurt hasn't been able to put on the setup he wants to. Louis abandons his second run in qualifying. And he's back into the pits as well. So we've got Super Guy on an out lap. We've got LR Yogurt then, who's not running the setup he wanted. He's now on a flying lap. Onyx as well is in sector 2 at the moment. He's coming across the line in a minute. But he has backed off. You can see there he's made a mistake. So he's just short shifting to save the fuel, save the revs, ERS mode 0 as well to try and save as much battery life as possible. Only 4 drivers out on circuit then. Super Guy is coming around to complete sector 1. LR Yogurt is at the hairpin now into sector 3. We've got LTU Tom in 6th place on an out lap, and Onyx is gearing up for another go at the flying lap. And this is coming in the pits. He is indeed. So LR Yogurt then coming down into the final chicane, and he's almost certainly invalidated that. Indeed he has. So yep, LR Yogurt's first attempt then. It would have been a 108.7, which is not the most competitive lap on them soft tyres. It would have put him pretty much with LTU Tom in P6. So he might go again if he's got enough fuel. Super Guy is backed out of his lap as well. Midnight back out on circuit. LR Nick is as well. So LTU Tom, Bretster 6th and 7th, Chapalele back out on circuit. Lakitu has done his running on the hard tyres. And we've got the Ferrari there of Super Guy coming back into the pits because SP's out on circuit. So LR Yogurt is, yeah, of course, he's this is not really a competitive lap, I don't think, for him. Because he's obviously saving ERS. So we'll try and find, there's no one else on a fast lap at the moment. We've got Matt Tibos and Louis, who are very close to the wall there. Chapalele, where is he? He's coming into sector 3 as well. We've got yellow flags in sector 2, sector 3. That'd be just cars just politely getting out of the way of others as well. Well, I think Midnight might be now on a flying lap. Indeed he is. We'll see what his sector 1 time, because sector 1 here only takes about 19-20 seconds if you're on a hot one. So into the right left chicane. I'd be surprised to see a bit of action there during the race as well. A few drivers clipping that outside wall. 18.9 for sector 1. He's 200ths up on his previous best. He needs to find 4 tenths to get on to provisional pole, because Onyx has improved his lap time for 107.444, which may prove very hard to beat. But Paris said only 6 tenths off. on the medium tyres as well. Oh, and Midnight's lost it on the exit. Spun the car around into the wall. He hasn't retired from the session, but he's damaged that front wing. He'll be able to get back to the pits. He'll have enough time to choose another set of tyres and fix that wing. But Midnight pushing just a bit too much there on the exit, losing the back of the car oversteers into the outside or the inside wall. And Midnight will be unhappy about that. But if you're going to make a mistake in the session, better to do it in qualifying rather than in the race. So Blizzard back out there at the moment. He's on the flying lap as well. Whereas Paris and all this, he is still on the medium tyres, so he's going for a second run on these tyres. Not a bad strategy to start inside the top 10 on the mediums. So where's LR Nick? He's in coming into sector 3. Blizzard is just a few seconds behind him. So Matt is starting his flying lap as well. Anyone close to an end of a lap? Brettster's in sector 1. Chapelele has just finished another lap. Improved his own lap time by 1.2 seconds to move that racing point into row 3 in P6. So where's Blizzard? He's coming down the back straight as well. He's nearly 4 tenths up in his previous best. Would be good enough for possibly P3 on these soft tyres. Taxi chicane very, very well. Probably the best line I've seen through there. If he hasn't invalidated, he would have gained a bit more time there as well. Indeed, he has 6.5 tenths improvement. A 107.761. Good enough for the front row of the grid, but nowhere near eclipsing that blistering time set by VSR Onyx. Where was Matt in this? No, it wasn't Matt, was it? It was LR Nick, but he's back in the pits then. So Blizzard will be back in the pits as well. LTU Tom has lost it as well, coming out of the left-right in sector 2. He's clipped the wall, damaged that front wing, so his lap will be abandoned. He'll be back in the pits as well. We've still got enough time, 5.5 minutes left. Faster, higher, stronger Badger. That is a wonderful name. Where is Marquez's? He's not racing tonight. He's broke his controller, so he's probably raged at something through against the wall. So unfortunately, we are down one Red Bull, but the other Red Bull doing a good job so far. Blizzard up in P2 at the moment. So Brett Steven, he's what is he doing? He's on a flying lap. What's his sector 1 time going to be? 18.9. He's nearly 3 tenths up on his previous best as well. So a good start to the lap from the youngster in the Haas, who needs a good performance. He spent more time this season crashing into other drivers, and he has actually secured decent results. -4 points in the season, of course, for those of you that don't remember or don't know. He was caught doing donuts on stream by me, and then was given a penalty by the league after the pre-season race for doing donuts at the final chicane at Belgium, which brought out the yellow flags and obviously removed one of the key overtaking opportunities towards the end of that race. So he was slapped with a -5 penalty. Point, or -5 points penalty I should say. Currently sits on -4, so even if he didn't have that penalty, he'd only be on a single point. But here he comes in through the final chicane, open up the DRS. He says now he's going into the middle of a circuit, not over to the far right. He completes his lap at 107.952. Our 4th driver underneath the 108 barrier, good enough for P4. So Brettster has some pace about him tonight. The only other driver out there at the moment is Eli Yogurt, who is on a fast lap. Is he on a fast lap? I think he is. Yep, he is, because he's using the ERS, of course. So into the final chicane then. That was a better line through there. Don't think he invalidated this time. Over to the right-hand side for the slightly shorter line to the run to the line. And it's a 107.833, and he moves up into P3. And Ella Yogurt coming on stream a few minutes ago, just saying there, he hasn't got the setup he wanted to put on the car, but whatever setup he is running, it's good enough at the moment for row 2, so I don't think he'll be overly disappointed. Louis then back out on circuit. It's a relatively quiet track at the moment. Yogurt and Brettster on in laps, so Louis has the track all to himself. This is that lull that we do expect towards the end of the session, where everyone's back in the pits, just making some fine little adjustments to their setup, going on to the tyres they want to set their last lap on. And I'm sure the track will be getting very busy, even with 14 drivers here in the next minute or so. But Louis will use this track space and clean track and clean air around him to hopefully set down his, what will probably be at this point, his only real qualifying lap. Because once this is done, he won't have enough time to get round back in the pits and come out again. So Louis really needs to nail this final chicane. And he's not. He's coming back into the pits then. He's leaving this late. He might just have enough time to get out of there. It's obviously a very, very short lap here at Canada, and a short pit lane as well, so he might just about have enough time. 2.5 minutes left of this session. Chapelele then is the only driver out on circuit at the moment, just gearing up for what will be his final qualifying attempt. Down in 8th place at the moment, his teammate up in P4, so not a bad performance so far by the racing points. But we saw Chapelele, I think it was Chapelele a few minutes ago, just hit the wall. So he's made it back, fixed the front wing, another set of tyres, and there goes Chapelele then. Over the line, down into turn 1. We've got Lakitu coming back on an outlap, but he's nowhere near the racing point. So again, like Louis a minute ago, Chapelele has pretty much a full clear track around him. As he finishes Sector 1, 200ths up on his previous best, but only a 19.2 in Sector 1. We've been seeing other guys go through there in the very high 18s. Opening up the DRS then. ERS mode number 4, you'll see, once you sort of hit 6th and 7th gear, these drivers will knock it down from ERS mode 5 to number 4. You save a little bit of ERS, you save a little bit of deployment as well, and it is better to get that high speed as well. So we've got a car, that's Lakitu, just getting off the circuit, making sure he stays well out the way of Chapelele. And now onto this long back straight. Nothing for the driver to do here then, just move up through the gears, watch the speed rise well into the 200 mile an hour plus bracket. And now it's all about getting the braking right for this final chicane. Make sure you don't invalidate. He might just have done it there. He might just have done it. That chicane is very, very unforgiving. But he's still going for it at the line. And it's an 08.256. Which has come up as an improvement up into 7th place, and maybe he got away with that invalidating at the final chicane, but that'll be his qualifying over. Then Lakitu then now starts his final lap, and you can see there that everyone else is now on an out lap apart from Onyx, who's also started his flying lap. So we'll stay with Lakitu because he's staying on those medium tyres, so if he can get well inside the top 10, and he's not on the bad strategy here. We'll have a look as well to see what's going on. The best lap so far, well, Matt in 8th place has done his best on the mediums, LTU Tom in 10th also on the mediums, and Lakitu's best lap was on the hards. So you can see that everyone else is going for the softs. So Lakitu is the odd one out here. Down in P11 at the moment. He'd like to get up around about where his teammate is. He's going to find the going tough though on those medium tyres. He's 1.1 up on his previous best, which will be an 8.7 at the moment. So he may not even improve his position, even if he does manage to improve his lap time. So again, it's going to be all about maximising the top speed down this back straight and getting that final chicane right as well. We've got just 10 seconds left of the session. So once Lakitu crosses the line, his session will be over. Blizzard needs to get across the line as well. He has just done it. So Lakitu then, the first driver to finish qualifying here. What can he do? It's only good enough for P10 with a 108.465 on those medium tyres. Now we need to find the other drivers as well. Louis is coming into Sector 3. Chapelele and Paris immediately retire from the session. They've made mistakes on their final run as well, so they won't be able to improve. Midnight session's over in P4. We know Lakitu's in P10 is over as well. Where is anyone else in all this? Where are the big boys? Onyx's session is over. He's failed to improve. Midnight in P4. LR Nick in 7th. Where's Blizzard? And all this Blizzard's backed out. We can forget about him. There's been a crash as well involving Bretster and one of the racing points, so we can forget about all them. Lakitu we know is done. Louis comes across the line, and what's his lap going to be? He fails to set a lap time. Mark SP across the line, he fails to set a lap time as well. So at the moment there's going to be no real changes out there because Blizzard's backed off. We know that. Onyx is definitely safe in pole position, and the only real driver then it can actually move up or down the order really is Super Guy as he comes through the final chicane up to the line. He needs to set a lap time. He does so. It's P7 with a 108.160. Not the most dramatic ends to the qualifying sessions we've seen. Onyx won't care though. 3 tenths clear of Blizzard. He takes down pole position. LR Yogurt without his preferred strategy in P3 ahead of Midnight. And 2 drivers failed to set lap times. Mark Espy and more worryingly our championship leader Louis down in P13. So then, just to finally confirm the classification for the qualifying session, Onyx takes pole position with a 107.444, just over 3 tenths ahead of VSR Blizzard in P2. Row 2 then, LR Yogurt in VRT Midnight for Mercedes and Racing Point. Bretster, he'll be buoyed by that performance up in P5 ahead of Paris in the 2nd Williams. And then it's Super Guy in 7th, LR Nick, Chapelele and Lakitu on the medium tyres in P10. Outside of it, we've got Matt and LTU Tom in 11th and 12th. ILRT Louis and Mark SP both failed to set lap times. I'm going to take a very short break here, but do stay tuned and I'll be back with you guys during the formation lap. So here we are then on the formation lap as VSR Onyx in the Williams leads the field round after securing a very dominant pole position in the qualifying session. The tyres you can see on the left hand side, which I've brought up, and as per real F1 rules and regulations, the fastest lap time you do in qualifying means that you start on those tyres that you use, which is why Lakitu in P10 is on those medium tyres. You would have wanted to be further up the order, and I think looking back, Lakitu, if he was in 10th, he'd rather be on the softs like everyone else. Outside the top 10 then, LTU Tom is the only driver going on to the Red Bull soft tyres. Matt in 11th, Louis and Mark SP in 13th and 14th, also going on to the medium tyres. A 1 or 2 stop strategy is one of the very, very few races that we'll see this season where the 1 or 2 stop strategy, there's no real difference in the race time, maybe a second and a half. And that's because you file into the pit lane entrance whilst you're pretty much braking for the final chicane, so you lose very little time. And then when you exit the pit lane as well, you rejoin on the exit of turn 2, so you cut out completely the run to turn 1 as well, which means that you spend a very little amount of time actually in the pit lane. The only difference between obviously the 1 and 2 stop strategy is where you are on track when you do decide to make these pit stops. You don't want to be on the 2 stop and then come out behind a whole host of cars that are going long on the 1 stop. But we're only 14 drivers tonight. I don't think we'll be seeing too many trains out there. Certainly if there's a couple of incidents in the first few laps, that gives us the unfortunate field spread. But here come the field now. SP very close to the back. In fact, a few drivers are ghosting through each other. So Onyx and Blizzard will lead the field back onto the grid then. 35 laps here. We had nice clear conditions in qualifying. Looks the same in the race as well. And Dark Bolt's come on stream to say expecting a Haas to come last. I wouldn't be surprised to put a few quid on that bet. So Onyx on the right, Blizzard on the left. Just 14 drivers. Chances of having less than 10 finishes is probably quite high as the 5 lights come on now for round 7 here. And the lights go out, and the way the drivers go now, eventually, at some point today, it would be nice. Let's go. Yeah, finally, away we go. So Onyx on the right, Blizzard on the left. Who's going to get a better start down into turn 1? It's Onyx that has, and Yoga up the inside of the Red Bull immediately into turn 1 as well. A little bit of contact between the two and further back as well. Onyx has completely disappeared in the lead. Look at that. He'll be loving that lead. Blizzard has managed to retake that P2 ahead of Yoga. Midnight and Brettster still in P4 and P5. Anyone going to put it in the outside wall? LR Nick was very close to it as well. Will jump on board for Alfa Romeo driver because he's got Chapalele to his left as well, as Brettster and Superguy are dicing and chopping over positions ahead as well. We've got yellow flags further back. Chapalele has fallen to the back of the field, and again P7 and P8 very, very close together, side by side on the run down into sector 2. And look at this, the leaders then already starting to filter their way through into a single line, and there's contact there between the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari. And Superguy's managed to get away to it, and Louis made a good start. He's already up into P9 as well. Might fancy move up the inside into the hairpin for P8. LR Nick gives him the space, and Louis then immediately up into P8. We'll come back to Chapalele. Has he got any damage? He has. The front right is heavily damaged here, so he's either made contact with the wall or someone else. But Onyx will be loving life at the front. 7 tenths clear of Blizzard already, who's a second ahead of Yogurt, coming under threat already from Midnight into the final chicane. Oh, Blizzard just touches the wall, as does Yogurt as well. Anyone else going to clip that outside wall as they come through? It doesn't look like it. And Chapalele into the pits at the end of lap 1. But Onyx then leads the way, 7 tenths ahead of Blizzard, almost a full second ahead of Yogurt, who's got Midnight and Paris behind him. Brettster already with a bit of a train behind him. He's managed to stay ahead of Superguy. Louis then up into P8. So our championship leader already gained quite a few positions off of the start. We'll have a look. He's made 5 up exactly. Our biggest mover in the race. A few other drivers have either gained or lost a position. Oh, Louis very sideways there into the left-right section in sector 2. That might give LR Nick an opportunity down into turn 9. Just moving from side to side a little bit. Lakitu there remains in P10. The only driver inside the top 10 not starting on the soft tyres. And LTU Tom has managed to get past Matt, and SP's at 1 position as well. Chapalele then out of the pits with a new front wing. And he's on the medium tyres. Onyx still leads. Yogurt now starting to fall back. Midnight very close behind. DRS not in effect yet until the beginning of the next lap. But he's still getting a nice tow along that back straight as well. We'll come off board to see if this move can be completed into the final chicane. Not a lot of space left by the Mercedes driver. And Midnight will try and have another go into turn 1. Up the inside already. We'll jump on board at Paris. See what happens with these two up ahead. Then they're still side by side going into turn 2. Yogurt has the inside line. He might try and squeeze Midnight out just a little bit. He'll have the inside again for turn 3, but Midnight's managed to complete the move around the outside, so a great bit of driving there by the Racing Point. He's now up into a potential podium spot. Paris back in 5th. We'll have seen how that's done. Brettster in 6th, still got a few cars behind him, but all line astern at the moment, all staying pretty close together. Only Chapelele is off the back of that, having made a pit stop at the end of lap 1. And we've got the Haase of LTU Tom, I think, made a mistake on the exit, and that's allowed Mark SP through, and Matt Tibos might try and find his way through into 9 as well. But he has to hold station into P3. Louis and Super Guy have exchanged positions, so Louis then continues to charge towards the front of the field, up into P7 on those medium tyres. He's now right in the mix with the drivers that are on the softs, and Midnight and Yogurt are exchanging positions again then. So Midnight's tried it, sent it up the inside, I think, into the hairpin. And Yogurt's going to try it back as well. Midnight is going to have to concede the position there with the DRS now enabled on lap 3, of course. And into the final chicane, and Yogurt's completely cut the second part of that as well. Probably picked up a warning. Penalties will be thick and fast in this race tonight, like we saw in Monaco as well. Plenty of places that you can track extend, and with the strict corner cutting rules this league operates, don't be surprised to see quite a few penalties out there. We might get a disqualification as well. Samster, who's not racing this week, got disqualified for too many penalties with a few laps to go at Monaco last week. Don't be surprised if we see the same again tonight. So whilst Yogurt and Midnight then keep exchanging P3, it's allowed Onyx and Blizzard to disappear into their own little battle for P1 and P2. And we've got Paris close behind as well. Brettster has fallen off a little bit. He's got Louis behind him with the DRS. 3 DRS zones here. This is the first one, of course. And I'll be expecting Louis to possibly send one up the inside into the hairpin in just a few seconds' time. Good exit as well through the right-left. And I think Brettster won't defend this. He'll know that Louis is quicker, even on those medium tyres. Up the inside he goes. We've got the 3 ahead battling very nicely as well. So Louis up into P6. And Paris is starting to get the Jimmy on now. He's going to be squeezed a little bit by Yogurt, almost onto the grass. They're both going to get the DRS, I think. Or maybe Yogurt will miss out on this. He has missed out on it because there's Paris on the right, just sailing past with the additional top speed. Oh, and Yogurt then straight into the pits at the end of lap 4. I don't know if he's got damage on that car, but that's an early pit stop to be making off of those soft tyres. And he'll tumble all the way down into P13. We'll go back on board actually with Yogurt, see if he's having a front wing change. He's not. So it's an early stop off of those soft tyres. And that's promoted a whole host of cars. Louis then up into P5. Now P4. What's happened there is he managed to get past Paris. He has, with I think a similar move that Midnight managed to do on Yogurt a couple of laps ago around the outside, or on the exit of turn 2. And Brettster trying to come back up the inside, and Paris does leave just enough space. But Brettster on the curve wouldn't have found the grip or traction on there he needed to complete the move, so he has to settle for P6 at the moment. So Onyx still leads 6/10 ahead of Blizzard. So he's being pulled quite nicely along is the Red Bull driver with the DRS and the slipstream down these long straights. Midnight is safe at the moment in P3, but Louis then is going to start reeling in that racing point, and a fantastic opening few laps for the McLaren driver. Our championship leader failed to set a lap time in qualifying, started in P13, and he's now 1 position already away from a top 3. Paris might try and stay with him, but Brettster has the DRS. We've also got Likitu very close behind LR Nick, but all of his guys have the DRS. We've got another driver in the pits, that's Paris. So he's coming in at the end of lap 5 off of those soft tyres. And look, Yogurt's out on the mediums. I think Paris will probably do the same as well. And indeed, he is going on to those medium tyres. So Paris, Yogurt, Tom and Chapelele have all made pit stops. VRT Midnight in P3 becomes the first driver tonight to pick up a time penalty, 3 seconds for exceeding the track limits 1 too many times. And Louis then is slowly reeling that gap in. In fact, Midnight must have, I don't think he's made a mistake anywhere, but he's losing about 3 or 4 tenths already on this lap. And Louis, I think, is probably going to be within DRS range, certainly if he gets a good exit out of the hairpin. The DRS line is actually just here. And he is within a second. So Louis will have the DRS for the first time against Midnight. But the soft runners are slowly starting to filter into the pits. We'll have a look at the leaders to see if either of these guys decide to duck in at the end of lap 6. And we've got yellow flag in sector 2. Who's that for? It's we've got a spinning Chapelele, who's managed to do a nice spin turn. Don't know if he's got any damage on the front wing. Can't tell from that camera angle, obviously. And Chapelele has already been in the wars once tonight. So Onyx and Blizzard have carried on. We've got Super Guy and Brettster fighting over P5 and P6 around the outside into turn 1, which will give them the inside for turn 2. And Super Guy in the Ferrari completes that move, pushing Brettster down into P6. LR Yogurt sets a new fastest lap on a fresh set of medium tyres. And there's a bit of a train forming here. Brettster's been holding these guys up. Super Guy's through. But behind him he's got LR Nick, Lakitu, Mark SP, Matt Tibos as well. And Mark SP, they're very, very close to the back of Lakita. And I think Brettster's gone a little bit deep there, coming out of that corner as well, and it might give LR Nick an opportunity, but they've all got DRS, of course. Louis, meanwhile, up front has caught and passed Midnight into P3, but I'm staying with this little battle lower down in the midfield at the moment. Is anyone going to send it up the inside into the hairpin, or are they going to wait for the DRS? Is Lakito up the inside of LR Nick, just a puff of smoke from the front right as he manages to stop the car in time without creaming into the back of the Haas. We'll jump aboard with Mark SB. He'll get a good view of this. P8 and P7 side by side, both with the DRS, almost banging wheels down the back straight as well. I don't think any of these guys will be into the pits. And Lakito, LR Nick, Brettster as well. Look at this, Brettster's in. Oh, we've got Brettster and LR Nick there fighting over who gets first into the pit lane. And Lakito picks up a 3-second time penalty for it. So the pit lane very busy. Our leaders are in. Onyx and Blizzard are in as well. And Blizzard's got the jump. Blizzard's managed to get the jump on Onyx there. Might have been held in the pits. Obviously Onyx hasn't had a front wing change. And Blizzard then will be our net race leader once he rejoins. Onyx will be P2. Yogurt has caught a little bit further back. We've got Super Guy coming out the pits ahead of LR Nick. Paris is going to be rejoining behind the pair of them. Brettster is out as well. Chapelele back in the pits again. He's a long way back in P14. So the order is chopping and changing whilst the pit stops happen for the first time. And Louis now the race leader, going long on those medium tyres. So P13 to P1 in 8 laps. And I think Midnight will probably be in at the end of this lap as well. Last runner then who started this race on the soft tyres. Lakito in P3 has Mark SB and Matt DeVos very close behind, and SB with the DRS just sails on by. Lakito doesn't put up any sort of resistance whatsoever. Midnight then from P2 in the pits, and Onyx and Blizzard have exchanged positions again. So with the DRS, Onyx has retaken what will be the net lead of this race. We'll have a look at Midnight. He's going on to the, it looked like hards, but it's actually the medium tyres. It is the medium tyres. So Onyx through into P5, Blizzard P6, Yogurt a couple of seconds back into P7. Where will Midnight come back out in this? It should be comfortably ahead of LR Nick. In fact, he will be well ahead of LR Nick. So Onyx, Blizzard, Yogurt, Midnight and LR Nick is essentially your top 5 at the moment. But we know that Louis was essentially P3 after passing Midnight before the pit stop. So if Louis can put in some consistently quick laps now he's in clear air on those medium tyres. He should be able to nail down that P3 and then maybe do something about Onyx and Blizzard ahead. So Lakito still very close to the back of Mark SB. Matt Tibos also within DRS range. So P2, 3 and 4 very close together. We've got a few other little battles further down as well. Blizzard still very close to Onyx, just a couple of seconds back. We'll jump aboard with Lakito. Seems to have quite a nice high top end speed. DRS in operation. The audible beep in the ear, the finger on the button. Not gaining as much as you'd want to against the Ferrari ahead. Into the final chicane. A little bit of a contact there with the outside wall for Mark SB. And Lakito won't try anything into turn 1. New fastest lap from VSR Onyx in P5. And further down we've got Super Guy and LR Nick close together. Paris as well in P11. This is a position he would not want to be in. So lap 10 of 35, VSR Blizzard picks up a 3-second time penalty. So the penalties are slowly starting to filter their way through as more and more of these guys pick up more and more warnings. And Paris now picks up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits at the turn 3-4 section. So if these guys stay relatively close together, which is what they're doing, then the order might change towards the end. As I always say, I never check the race directed to see who has what in terms of time penalties. I call the race how I see it, and then we wait for the surprises at the end. Matt Tibos is losing 2 positions there to both Onyx and Blizzard. I think Matt has possible damage on the right front. He does, so Matt's made contact either with someone else or by himself with the wall as Chapelele gives up after being so far back as it was anyway. It immediately leaves the session, and Matt then into the pits to fix that front wing. So 9 laps then he's completed on those medium tyres. And this will be a slightly earlier call than he wanted to. Probably fix the front wing and go onto the hard tyres, which he'll comfortably be able to get to the end. No, he's going onto the soft tyres there. So Matt doing something completely different here. The hards drivers in P12 and P13 make that 11th and 12th now, fighting over 11th and 12th as Brettster tries a move up the inside on his teammate. The last thing these two want to do is make contact with each other. Should get yellow flagged in sector 1 as well. Not too sure if someone's clipped the wall there. So the hards drivers in 11th and 12th. We've got Onyx managing to get past Mark SP, and SP spun there. SP has spun. The man running in P2. I don't know if he's made contact with Onyx, but another driver facing the wrong way. And he gets back onto the circuit safely, but he would have lost a lot of time. And he would have put unnecessary wear on that car. And he's also got damage on the front right there as well. So a similar situation to Matt Tibosset. He's either made contact with another car or lost it by himself, hit the wall, damaged the front wing. And he's got to be careful because he's got LRNX, Super Guy and Paris closing him down. So Mark will probably be in at the end of this lap. And indeed he is, into the pits then. He'll be off strategy. Lakitu also in. He's coming off of those medium tyres. And he's going on to a second set of mediums, so he'll be two-stopping quite clearly. As the rest of the field now start to filter their way through. So like I said, 1 or 2 stop strategy here for these guys. It looks like most people are going for the 2. But Louis then might be going long on the mediums and then maybe put on a set of hards. But I'll be expecting him to go as long as he can on the mediums. Maybe double stint on the softs. I'm not too sure. We'll just have to call the race how we see it. But certainly now the mistakes are starting to creep in for some of these guys. We've lost Chapelele. 2 mistakes in the opening 5 or 6 laps has forced him a long way down the order. And he's phoned in the tail. Mark SP and Matt Tibos have made mistakes recently. And they're back in the pits as well. Nickel joins us on stream. Evening, Alex. Evening, my friend. Phoning support behind Louis and saying, Mark spinning, you love to see it. So Mark down in 13th, but his teammate doing a good job in P6 at the moment, holding off Nick and Paris. And Paris just giving a little love tap there to the back of the Alpha male. No harm, no foul, but you don't want to be doing that too many times, otherwise you start damaging that front wing. Nick will have DRS, but so will Paris. Can Paris do anything about Nick coming into the final chicane? He has a little look, just moving about, making his Williams loom large in the Alfa Romeo's rearview mirror. Leaving his braking just a little earlier so he doesn't hit the back of LR Nick, who moves over to the inside to defend the inside going into turn 1. So Paris left to hard way around the outside, but look at that. And a little bit of contact there I think has sent Paris off the circuit. Let's be careful when he rejoins, he doesn't hit Nick, and he doesn't, but Paris has lost a lot of momentum there. So that's freed up a little bit of pressure on Nick at the moment, and he can focus on Super Guy ahead. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Midnight all on his own in P4 as it stands. Blizzard still very close to the back of Onyx. He got the jump on Onyx in the pit lane, but then immediately lost the lead halfway round that next lap. And Onyx now 6.4 behind Louis, so we'll have to keep an eye on that gap to see if that is increasing or diminishing. I would expect it to slowly tumble away because Louis, of course, on a set of medium tyres that he started the race on. Onyx and Blizzard obviously 5 laps ago made the pit stop, so their tyres are a lot fresher. They can push them harder and set quicker lap times. So Louis going again for another lap. Question marks remain if he's on a 1 or 2 stop strategy. And Onyx and Blizzard still very close together in P2 and P3. So Super Guy in P5, Midnight all on his own. LR Nick very close behind. And they'll have a DRS again. Super Guy looks very rash, I should say, through that final chicane. Looks like any opportunity that throw is going to be in the wall. And LR Link putting the pressure on the Ferrari. Lap after lap, Paris has dropped back a little bit. LTU Tom and Bretster, their little battle has sort of resolved itself in Tom's favour. P8 ahead of Bretster in P9. And Lakitu starting to gain on a fresh set of medium tyres in P10 as well. Matt Tibos in 11th, LR Yoga and Mark SP rounds off the field. So Louis' intentions are clear for everyone to see. In at the end of lap 14 onto a set of hard tyres. There was different strategies that he could do. Nichols come in just now and say maybe he's going long and he's going to try the audacious strategy, mediums onto softs and 1 stop it, which he's done before. I've seen him do it before. Or he was going to pit and maybe do 2 stints on the softs, or this strategy he decided to go for mediums onto hards. So Louis has played his hand. Everyone can now see what he's planning on doing, certainly the leaders as well. Onto the hard tyres, hopefully for him, towards the end of this race as Paris picks up at least his second penalty of the race. We've also got Lakitu in the pits as well. I believe that's for the second time. Matt Tibos in, that's I believe for possibly the third time. He's I think hit the wall again. We'll have a look, see if he's having a front wing change. Yeah, he's indeed. He's creamed it into the wall as well. Look at that. He's completely destroyed that front wing. So Matt's race is falling apart. Onyx and Blizzard now resume their battle for P1 and P2. And Matt retires in the pit lane. Second driver tonight who's been in the wars one too many times for his liking. Throws in the towel and ends his evening early. Lap 16 of 35. Closing in on half race distance here. This is the true order at the moment. Onyx and Blizzard will probably be in the pits again. In fact, they will be in the pits again, to be honest with you. They won't be able to complete 27, 28 laps on a set of mediums around this circuit. Same for Midnight as well, as Matt Tibos's ghosted car comes out the pit lane, but it will move over to the side and disappear in a little while. And Louis then, he is then in P4 on the hard tyres. He'll be going to the end of this race and looking good for potentially taking down the race win here, which will be a good achievement from P13 on the grid, having not set a lap time. But once Onyx and Blizzard pit again for probably another set of mediums, maybe softs, depending what they want to do, then they will be a little bit quicker than Louis. So this race is not over yet, although Louis is in the driving seat for the race win. Super Guy, Nick and Paris still very close together. Paris has now recaught this little two-car battle to make it a trio for P5, 6 and 7. The Haas drivers of 8th and 9th for a long way back, and Yogurt, SP and Lakitu have been in the pits a couple of times as well to fix accident damage. So I think Blizzard is quite happy. We've seen him before to just follow in the wheel tracks of the car in front of him, being helped along quite nicely on board of Paris as LR Nick with the DRS manages to get past Super Guy, who slows down as well. I think Super Guy's coming into the pits, doesn't want to get in the way and get his braking wrong. So Super Guy coming in for the second time then. Probably a set of mediums or hards. We'll have a look. He's going on to a set of medium tyres. So it's soft mediums for the Ferrari driver, which is surprising because he's still got half the race left to do. LTU Tom in the pits as well for another set of medium tyres. So that's promoted Yogurt into 8, Britster into 7. We'll have a look actually how many stops people have done then. So Yogurt, Tom and Super Guy and Nikita have all been in twice. Everyone else at least once as it stands. And the L2 Tom rejoins just in front of Mark Espy. Super Guy a couple of seconds back as well. The Ferrari drivers having a poor race. 10th and 11th so far. Nikita as well down in P12. So Blizzard then just a couple of attempts back. As I said before, he's happy to follow this Onyx around. Penalties might change it, of course, towards the end of this race. Certainly these two very close together. Midnight now over 10 seconds back, so he's continuing to drop away. Louis slowly starting to catch, as you would expect. Even though he's on the hard tyres compared to the mediums, they are a fresher set, and we know how good of a driver Louis can be. Paris and Nick are going into battle into turn 1 and turn 2. A little bit of puff of smoke there from the right front of Nick as he just outbrakes himself a little bit of contact between the two of them as well. Might be a bit of desync involved there. I don't think they're literally banging each other in the next few corners, but Paris now manages to get the job done on LR Nick, who might come back at him up the inside. Has a little look, but thinks better of it. He'll have the DRS. It's a difficult corner coming up now to try and overtake. Mark Espy picks up another penalty. And Patterson up into P5, so he's slowly starting to climb back up the order as well. Williams looking good for a good haul of points here tonight, which will help them in the constructors because there's only one Red Bull, there's only one McLaren. And it's a good opportunity as well for Louis to potentially extend his championship lead. Marquez is currently in second place in the standings. He's not here tonight, and if he manages to beat Onyx and Blizzard, and he'll be, I think, around about 40 plus points clear, which will put himself in a good position as we slowly come up to the midway point of this season. Next week we're not racing. It's a week break for One Hub Racing. So racing will resume in a couple of weeks' time. So it'll be a good opportunity for some of these drivers with that week off as well to go away, refocus, work out what's going wrong, work out what's going right, and continue to improve their performances as we come back in a couple of weeks' time to resume racing here in the Prestige tier. But Louis doing everything right so far in this race. Qualifying was a bit of a mess. He was out there on circuit plenty of times as Onyx, our race leader, picks up a 3-second time penalty. So that could change things, because I don't think Blizzard has picked anything up yet, and he'll be on the button to his engineer, continually asking how many penalties or seconds worth of penalties Onyx has. So we'll be told now that he has at least 3 seconds, and if Blizzard keeps it clean and Blizzard stays as close to this, then the race win will be his. But we're into the second half of the race now. A lot has happened. A lot will still happen as well. Blizzard just cuts the entrance to the chicane. Does that too many times, and he'll be picking up a penalty for himself. Midnight still in P3, but Louis slowly closing that gap. Paris a long way back in P5, still pulling Nick along. Bretster in 7th place, all on his own, as is Yoga in 8th. So there are a bit of field spread out there at the moment. Low numbers here tonight. 14 started. We're running with 12 at the moment. Super Guy and LTU Tom then. Similar strategies for these two. Medium tyres, 2 laps completed. And the Super Guy will be looking to try and get past the Haas, who clips the outside wall again. But no one has creamed it yet, and suffered a terminal DNF into the Wall of Champions. We've got Mark SP in 11th, Lakitu a long way back in 12th as well. So Onyx and Blizzard still carrying on. Blizzard still happy to follow in the wheel tracks laid by the Williams driver. So Louis then just a second and a half behind. And Onyx into the pits then for the second time. And I assume this will probably be for another set of medium tyres. So this will be a good opportunity for Blizzard to set a blistering lap on his in lap, because I assume he'll be in the pits in the next lap or two. And he's having a front wing change. Onyx has clipped the wall somewhere, and he's having a front wing change as LR Nick pits from P6 and picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That'll probably be added to his race time, because he won't be in after this as well. He'll be going for, I think, another set of medium tyres. He does indeed. So Onyx then has a 3-second time penalty. He just about rejoins in front of his teammate, and he's had a front wing change as well. So Blizzard, when he pits, he'll be comfortably in the lead, knowing that Onyx has a penalty, whilst VSR Blizzard, so far as I know, doesn't. And Louis, as you can see there, he's rejoined well in front. Louis will not be making a pit stop again unless something goes wrong, and he's over 8 seconds clear of Onyx. And Louis picks up a 3-second time penalty. So with the front wing change for Onyx, obviously he would have lost probably about 4 or 5 seconds in the pits. So it might be quite close between Blizzard and Onyx. Let's have a look at the Red Bull driver. Is he coming into the pits? He is not. He's going for another lap. And the Lakitu picks up a 3-second time penalty. I thought that was for Blizzard there, going across that chicane. So more and more penalties are starting to filter their way into this race. As Louis now within a second of Midnight, so he'll be now within DRS range. And he'll be looking to get past that racing point sooner rather than later. Midnight might do him a favour and jump into the pits before he loses that position. Meanwhile, LTU Tom and Super Guy exchanging positions again. Paris in P5 comes in off of those medium tyres for, I assume, another set of them. So second round of pit stops now starting to take shape for the guys at the front of the field. And Super Guy clouts to the outside wall there. Doesn't have any visible damage on that front wing, whereas Paris and all this is coming out the pits. I think he will join just behind Super Guy. So unfortunately for Paris, he's got to do this the hard way, because LTU Tom and Super Guy and LR Nick as well have only recently been in the pits themselves. So Williams were looking good for a couple of high finishes. Not looking so good at the moment. We know Onyx has a penalty, and he is a net P3, I feel, because Blizzard is now in the pits, and as long as nothing goes wrong, he should be able to rejoin in P3 behind Midnight and Louis, and then Midnight will pit. So yours should be Louis, Blizzard, and then Onyx in P1, P2 and P3. Don't think Blizzard has had a front wing change, whereas Louis and all this, he's closed right up to the behind Midnight now. Blizzard's still in the pit lane, so Louis will be the net leader of this race. Unless Midnight can somehow defend for the last 12 laps on a very used set of medium tyres, which is highly unlikely. Let's just call it how I see it. So Louis will be our net race leader, and you can see there Blizzard has rejoined a couple of seconds ahead of Onyx. Onyx would have had a couple of laps there to set some quick lap times. So he has managed to close the gap a little bit, but that front wing change and 3-second time penalty has certainly hurt him. He's going to have to find 2.5 seconds to catch Blizzard. Then he's got to pass him and pull away by 3 seconds. And he's got about 11, 12 laps to do it. It's going to be difficult to do. He's going to require Blizzard picking up a penalty or making a mistake by himself. And Louis now right up behind Midnight. He'll have the DRS. Bretster down in, or say up in 5th place at the moment due to the pit stops. Picks up a time penalty as well. I don't know if there's any drivers out there apart from Louis and Blizzard that have penalties. I think Louis might have 3 seconds. I'm not too sure. We get the flags in sector 2. Super Guy in the Ferrari losing positions. He's either made contact or lost it by himself in the turn 6-7 sequence. He has got any damage on that car? He has. Front right end plate is missing, so that's going to hurt him quite badly as Midnight pits in from the lead of this race. And he'll be going on to possibly a set of softs. He might feel brave, but he's deciding to play safe and go for another set of mediums. Onyx with a new fastest lap, a 1 minute 10.419. And talking of fastest laps, of course, as Jade just comes on saying Louis does have a pen. Thank you. I thought he did. And Blizzard finally picks up a 3-second time penalty. So the top 3 currently separated by, what's that, 3.5 seconds. Different tyre strategies, but they all now have at least a 3-second time penalty. So again, this race will continue to change and evolve. Blizzard then right up already within a second of Louis, and Louis has got to be looking hard in the mirrors because he's on those hard tyres going to the end, trying the one-stop strategy from the back of the field, whilst Blizzard and Onyx started on the front row going for the tried and tested simple 2-stop. Blizzard now within 5 tenths on a fresh set of medium tyres against a used set of hards that Louis got. He's already in DRS range, finger on the button. Louis just moving around the back straight there, trying to break the toe and disrupt the airflow to the back of Blizzard as much as he can. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2 and sector 3. Who's that for? Is it Bretster possibly? Someone's going slowly. Bretster and Nick I think are making contact somewhere, I'm not too sure. But Blizzard then, I feel he has the advantage. They're all, I think, the same now. All 3-second time penalties for the top 3. We'll have to try and remember that with 10 laps to go. And Blizzard is in the prime seat here. But catching is one thing. Passing is completely another. Louis will know that he has a 3-second time penalty. He'll know that Blizzard has a 3-second time penalty. Yogurt retires for speeding in the pit lane and he abandons as well. But here comes Blizzard in up the inside. Not the camera angle I wanted. We'll cut away to Louis, and Louis allows Blizzard through. Doesn't put up too much of a fight. And I think Louis will now just stay in the wheel tracks of that Red Bull, pick up the slipstream, the toe, the DRS as well, and try and force Blizzard into pushing the car a bit too much in some of the corners and picking up another penalty. But Onyx is still there, hanging on in 3rd place as well. He'll slowly creep up as we've got moves further back as well. We've got Paris and Bretster exchanging positions. Well, Paris has been off the circuit. Don't know if he's gained a position by doing it. I think he might have just outbroke himself. So we've got some more battles further down the order as well. Mark SP in P9 picks up a penalty, but Onyx then 1.2 seconds behind Louis on a fresher set of medium tyres, and Louis is going to try and stick with Blizzard now as Yogurt leaves the session. And of course, talking about fastest laps, I was going to do it a lap ago before the action kicked off. Of course, if you set the fastest lap inside the top 10, as Paris picks up a 3-second penalty, then obviously you get an extra World Championship point. If you set a fastest lap in what I like to call bracket number 2, and that's anyone that's classified from P11 down, then you also pick up an extra fastest lap. So Super Guy at the moment running off the pace a long way back. He's the only driver still running outside the top 10 because we have 11 running. So if he does finish and he classifies himself, it doesn't matter if he sets a fastest lap with a 2 minutes something, he'll still gain an extra championship point. But I feel we might lose another drive before the end of this race, but we'll see how it goes. Blizzard, Louis and Onyx now in the same shot, as you can see, all within about 1.5 seconds of each other. All have at least one 3-second time penalty. Super Guy then does set a new fastest lap of the race, which is to be expected on a fresh set of soft tyres. So it's going to be crucial now. We'll all have to try and remember, all the people watching and myself, every time it pops up at the bottom from the race director about someone has a penalty, we have to scan it to make sure it's not one of the top 3, because that will completely change the order of these guys. As Lakitu picks up another penalty. He's had a few tonight. Paris has certainly had a few. And talking about Paris, he's making a move into the final chicane. Louis in P2, 3-second time penalty. That's now 6 seconds in for the McLaren driver. And the advantage is now starting to go back into the favour of Onyx and Blizzard here to hold on to what will be P1 and P2. So I think the order will change, and it will continue to change with the penalties. LTU Tom into the pits, down into P9, having a front wing change going onto a set of soft tyres. So the Keto will now take over that position and a possible 2 World Championship points. As it stands as well, Bretster will be off the negative points. He needs an 8th place tonight to be back on 0. He needs a 7th place to actually score points. And so far, that is exactly what Bretster is holding on to. And Super Guy retires possibly in the pit lane. Not too sure what's going on here. Onyx and Louis exchanging positions. Onyx with the DRS makes the move stick before the final chicane, and indeed Super Guy pulled into the pits to retire, which we ask the drivers to do. If you have had enough, you are going to quit, you are going to leave the session, you are going to end your evening early, try and do it in the pit lane. It reduces the risk of cars retiring on the side of a track, bringing out unnecessary safety cars or virtual safety cars, or indeed cars not ghosting and causing a crash with someone that's still committed to finishing the event. So we are now down then to just 10 runners, which I said that the chances of it are quite high tonight to have less than, or have 10 or less. That's exactly what's going on now. So all of these drivers are still running. If they finish the race, they will at least score a World Championship points. So LTU Tom and Nikita, I think, with all their penalties, will still carry on. But as it stands, lap 28 of 35, Blizzard leads 1.6, if I can use words, ahead of Onyx in P2. Louis now down into P3 on those hard tyres, trying the one-stop strategy. Hasn't worked out for the race win. It's not going to work out either as well for P2 because of the 6-second time penalties he has. But he should be safe. Midnight is a long way back, 13.6 seconds back from Louis in P4. Paris as well, pretty safe I think in P5, although Nick is behind him, but Paris does have a lot of penalties. And then Bretster, 20 laps completed on those hard tyres, all by himself in P7. Same for SB in 8th, Nikito in 9th, LTU Tom in 10th. Just a handful of laps left to go here. More penalties may still change the outcome of this race, but at the moment it's Blizzard who's the odds-on favourite to taking down the race win and the 25 points. And Nickel just coming in again. A safety car can still come out if you pit and retire. I'm aware it just reduces the chances of it happening. I don't think having a safety car out there because someone decided to retire in the pits is really fair. I mean, it won't really change anything at the moment. I think maybe Louis would probably pit if a safety car did come out now, because he might have a bit of a good enough gap over Midnight, and he'll probably pit for a set of soft tyres, which again could change the order. But that 30 or 35, the chances of a safety car here are slim to nil. And Blizzard and Onyx, as you can see, are now starting to consistently pull away from Louis in P3. He has 6 seconds worth of time penalties as well. Onyx and Blizzard, as far as I know, just have the 3. So the top 3, in fact the top 4, as you see it, are pretty much locked into their positions now. Paris is not safe in 5th. He has, I think, 9, maybe 12 seconds worth of penalties. LR Nick, I think, has a few as well. But LR Nick might have an opportunity to get into the top 5 here at the end by jumping Paris on countback from penalties. Bretster in 7th, I haven't seen his name pop up too much, but unless he has to pit with a couple of laps to go to get off those hard tyres, which I don't think he will. I think he'll carry them to the end. He's looking good for his first points finish of the season, which will get him out of that negative point bracket he's currently in. Mark SB in 8th. It's been an up and down race, more down than up really for the Ferrari driver, but he's still pounding round, looking good for 4 points of PA. LTU Tom as well in P9. Don't know if he has the fastest lap or not. I think it might still be held by Supercar, but he has retired. But the second Haas still going in 9th place. And Nikito as well, just holding on at the moment to the back of LTU Tom, who will slowly disappear into the distance on those soft tyres. And it's been a poor race by Mercedes in general. Yogurt was inside the top 5 for most of it, but he's crashed out and retired. And Nikito has had a poor race by his standards down in P10, but he'll still pick up a championship point. So the pit stops then, Louis on the 1 stop, same for Bretster and Mark SB, everyone else on 2 apart from LTU Tom, who has been on the 3 stop due to picking up accident damage at some point. And I think it was Mark SB there who may very well have picked up a time penalty, but I don't think it will change just too much. Blizzard then with a 1.8 second lead over Onyx. These two exchanging sector and lap times, but they're not really gaining or closing on each other. Louis continues to fall away, and Midnight is now actually starting to catch this. A few seconds ago it was about 13 points something, now it's down to 11. So there is still a chance here of Midnight getting onto the podium, because Louis is obviously going long on this this set of tyres when he pitted. We all knew that, going long onto the hard tyres. Midnight then on the 2-stop is on a relatively fresh set of mediums, and I think he's now slowly starting to catch Louis ahead. He may have already been on the radio as well and asked about Louis' time penalties. So there is an opportunity for Midnight to maybe sneak his way onto the bottom step of the podium. Paris and Nick still carrying on their little battle for P5 and P6. These guys have been pretty much together most of this race. And again, it's an opportunity for Nick as he goes a bit deep into turn 1, which gives him a tighter line through 2. And you'll see him lose a little bit of time and traction to Paris ahead. But he's still got an opportunity to jump inside the top 5 once Paris's penalties are all totted up at the end of this race. So that 32 of 35, not a lot going on, unfortunately. It was always going to be this way with a low turnout tonight due to various reasons. Drivers are busy with other commitments in real life. We've got Lewis out there who's not here tonight because his accelerator doesn't work. Marquez has broken his controller. We've got Matt in the second Renault as well, who's unwell. And Paris then picks up another 3-second time penalty, so he may be in danger here of losing not only P5 to LR Nick, but also P6 to Brett Stubb, because he's only around 14 seconds back from Paris, who's now up to 12 seconds worth of penalties. So it has been a rather poor race from Paris by his standards. Usually one of the cleanest drivers out there, but 12 seconds worth of penalties at least is not something you'd see from the Williams driver. So LR Nick continues to keep the gap relatively the same to Paris heading. Nick knows that he's not really going to be catching Midnight or anyone else ahead unless something dramatic happens with 3 laps to go. And I think Nick is quite happy to just follow Paris round. And now Blizzard picks up a 3-second time penalty. So he's now up to 6 seconds, and all of a sudden it's now advantage to Onyx, who had the front wing change in his second pit stop. And we thought at that point that Onyx threw away a possible race win, and now all of a sudden he's the one that's got an opportunity to win this race, because Blizzard's now up to 6, Onyx still on 3. Louis is not a factor in this race anymore with his 6 seconds worth of penalty. So if Onyx can keep it clean and keep that gap relatively, well, under 3 seconds to Blizzard ahead, then it'll be the Williams driver that will take down the race win. So again, more penalties will continue to evolve as this race counts down to the checkered flag. Just 2 laps to go now. It's Lakitu on a fresh set of soft tyres. Will potentially pick up an extra championship point for the fastest lap. Where is Lakitu in all this? Is he in danger of being lapped? I don't think so. So it's fine at the moment. So Blizzard then 1.8 seconds ahead of Onyx, now 1.9. I think at this point Onyx is going to be pushing. We'll bring up the telemetry and the lap data at this point just to see the ERS. Well, Blizzard's almost out and he's had to push and try and extend the gap. Onyx is very, very low as well, so I don't think ERS will be too much of a factor in the outcome of this race, because neither of them have got enough to push. They're both in very much in ERS saving mode. So 1.8 seconds as we come up to start the final lap. 1.9 now. So Blizzard has got to go for this on this final lap. If he's going to take down the race win, he's got to set the mother and father of quick lap times here and hope Onyx maybe makes a mistake. Louis is safe in P3. Midnight hasn't really closed up as much as he was a few laps ago. Paris is in P5. He is not going to be catching Midnight, and he'll be losing that P5 as well to Nick. Brett Stavo is losing time. He was about 13 seconds back. Now it's 17. So those hard tyres are completely shot at this point, and he's just holding on, hoping that the tyre won't blow in the final lap to pick up P7. LTU Tom in 8th place. So it'll be a decent haul of points for Haas. I said at the beginning of the stream that Haas had a possibility of picking up good points tonight with both Renault drivers and both Toro Rosso, or one of the Toro Rosso, or both Toro Rosso drivers actually missing this race. So it'll be good points for the Haas team. Mark Espy just hanging on into P9. Lakitu has the fastest lap in P10. But here we are then on the final lap. We're already coming towards the end of it. Blizzard has pushed. He has extended the gap. It's up to 2.5 seconds. And Onyx will know that he's up to 6 seconds. So this is literally going to come down to when they cross the line. If Onyx makes a mistake, then it's going to be advantage back to Blizzard. He has 6 seconds worth of penalty, does the Red Bull driver. Onyx only has 3. And there's just over 4 tenths in it then as they come up to the final chicane. Will Blizzard very aggressive through there, but I think he's got away with it. What's going to happen with Onyx? I'm not too sure. Blizzard crosses the line, but I don't think he's going to hold on to his race lead. I think it's going to go to Onyx on penalties. It does indeed by 0.4 of a second. That 3-second penalty that Blizzard picked up with a couple of laps to go has dropped him down into P2. Louis does cross the line for the final podium spot in P3. Here comes Midnight. Strong performance in the end from the Racing Point, and Paris and Nick did exchange positions there towards the end, but I think Nick will take down that P5 because Paris has a lot of penalties. Indeed he does. Paris promoted to P5. Nick promoted to P5, Paris up into P6. Nick did have 5 seconds worth of unserved time penalties due to speeding in the pit lane, but it changes nothing. Bretster comes across the line for his best finish of the season, his first points finish of the season as well. Happy with that, weaving left to right, and he'll be backed up by his teammate as well, who crosses the line in P8. So good haul of points for Haas. They desperately needed a strong result tonight, and it's exactly what they got with P7 and P8. SB then, the final runner on the lead lap, across the line in P9, and I think he did set the fastest lap towards the end as well. Lakitu was a lap down, finishes in P10. So congratulations to the top three there. The order and the penalties continue to chop and change. We didn't know what the result was going to be until these drivers crossed the line. But due to penalties for Blizzard, Onyx finishes the race in P2, promoted to P1, even after having a front wing change during the second round of pit stops. Blizzard will be disappointed with being demoted down to P2. A good comeback by Louis as well. He had an opportunity to win the race towards the end, but it was never going to work with the one-stop strategy. But he does take the final podium spot with P3. There we go then. So actually they all had extra penalties then, so unsighted by me. Onyx had 6 seconds, Blizzard and Louis had 9, so we did miss some extra penalties ever. It's always difficult to try and keep on top of it all. But Midnight then in P4, from 4th on the grid as well. Elon Nick 5th from 8th for Alfa Romeo. Paris in 6th had 12 seconds, he was the highest. Bretster in 7th, LTU Tom in 8th, SP and Lakitu 9th and 10th, also all set 12 seconds worth of time penalties. Super Guy then and LR Yogurt retired from the race at mid-race point, and we lost Matt Tibos and VRT Shepalele fairly early on as well. So 14 runners, 10 finished. That will therefore bring the stream to a close. My time now to vote for the 2 worthy contenders for driver of the day. Well, only 10 people finished. Onyx pole position race win due to penalties. I think it's only ever right that one of the votes should always go to the race winner. So one of my driver of the day votes will go to Onyx. He picked up less penalties than both Louis and Blizzard, and it could have changed the order towards the end. And even with the front wing change after the second round of pit stops, he has taken down the race win. And I'm going to throw a bit of a weird one out there, to be honest with you. Apart from Onyx, I'm going to go for Bretster. A bit of a weird one because he finished lower down than what he qualified, but we've seen so many times this season Bretster pretty much just put the car into the wall. He struggled in the first few races, making contact with pretty much everyone and everything out there, but for the first time tonight he's had, I think by his own standards, a relatively clean run. And with the -5 points that he started on at the beginning of the season, this is the first time we've actually seen Bretster put in a solid performance. So my second vote is going to go to Bretster. I'm not too sure how this is all going to play out, but I think he does deserve some sort of recognition for finally having a clean race this season. So my 2 votes then, it will be up on the Twitter poll from One Hub in the next day or so, will be for our race winner Onyx, and for the guy finishing in P7, Bretster, with his first competitive performance of the season. So thank you very much to everyone watching tonight. That is it then from all the streams tonight. We're on a week's break next week, but we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time for some more red hot action here in the Prestige tier for One Hub Racing. Thank you very much, good night, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.